Hello and welcome to the Better in Business podcast. I am diving into part 3 of a series, which is how to start, grow, fix, or scale your business with the Business Mastery Blueprint. If you haven't listened to part 1 and part 2 in this series, I would love it if you would go back and do those too. You can think of it like a short course from me, free of charge, in order to help you do better in business. I'll see you in the episode. You've tuned into the Better in Business podcast, and I'm your host, Jeannie Savage. I'm a multi-award winning business veteran and head of the Strategic Bookkeeper Network. My network of strategic bookkeepers is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs do better in business. This podcast aims to challenge your thinking. If you're not thinking the right way, how can you act the right way? Each episode will dive into key drivers of success, which I also call the rules of the game. Learn the rules and play to win. Let's go. I like to start every episode by reminding you that it is globally recognized that pillar number 1 for success is up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, which is the only way you can see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash. If your books aren't right up to date, visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper. Fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper. Bookkeeping is a cost, whereas strategic bookkeeping is an investment that averages a 10x return on the fees. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to quickly let you know that I'll soon be running a brand new series of workshops on how to start, grow, fix, or scale your business. In these sessions, you can expect to get real education. We'll diagnose the problems in your business, uncover the mistakes that might be holding you back, and most importantly, I'll show you how to scale in a way that's rock solid so that your business gives you both the income and time freedom you want and deserve. This isn't theory. I've got decades of experience scaling my own businesses and helping others do the same. I've supported a large enterprise through a $100 million scale up, helped a trade business move from 0 to 1 million profitability per year, and guided others through meteoric rises in their industries. Along the way, I've been honored to be recognized as a multi-award winning entrepreneur, including Australia's Women in Finance Innovator of the Year and Bookkeeper of the Year. If you'd like to join the waitlist for these workshops, then just send an email to hello@betterinbusiness.global with the word waitlist, and we'll make sure that you're the first to know when we are running these workshops. See you in the episode. Okay, so in part 1 of this series, we looked at your stage of business and the mistakes and misconceptions that can lead you to struggling rather than thriving. And then in part 2, we looked at where you need to focus, and we dived a little bit more into the categorization of your business. We looked at where does the booked but broken need to focus, because I was explaining and giving an example of when just finding more customers, more clients, more revenue actually make the problem worse. And another example that I touched on a little bit is a tradie that I was once working with, and I actually got him to stop doing work and his profit exploded. Now, I won't go into how we did that or the details, but trust me now, believe me later, you need to look at where you need to focus. And that last episode, if you haven't listened, go back and listen, because it will explain that for the booked but broken stage of business. So now let's look at where the startup, growing, or scaling should focus. Now, I have learned from experience in my own business and also working with entrepreneurs, working with bookkeepers, that everybody must start with a plan, and that includes financial management. So you need to understand what the financial management of your business needs to look like. You need that to include your products and pricing ecosystem. I mean, this is how you are going to package up and price what you do for profit. This includes generally a job costing system, and this includes cash flow. How are you going to make sure there's cash in the bank? For example, one of my very successful clients, he absolutely has to run accounts. Okay. I'll always say, try and avoid that, try and be a payment upfront business. But there are some business categories, some business types that cannot avoid working in arrears. Even another friend of mine, so he works for the council. He makes really good money, more self-employed than a business, but he has to give them 30-day terms. Okay. So sometimes you can't avoid that. Now that means there is going to be a gap between when you do the work and when you get paid. If you employ staff, there's going to be a gap between when you need to pay your staff and when you get paid. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Once again, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. The financial management of your business needs to include a cash flow plan. It does not have to be super complex and like a 50-page document for a bank. I'm talking about a simple overarching plan that ensures that rather than build with a broken model, you're going to build a profitable business. For example, with cash flow. So let's say you're a plumber that is primarily servicing residences and doing that fast kind of field work. A cash flow plan could simply be that you set yourself up from the get-go to take payment on the premises so you are always cash flow positive. It could also include making sure that you're reserving money each week for all your tax obligations, okay? It could include a few really, really simple things. So napkin numbers type work to make sure that we've got a financial management plan, products and pricing ecosystem, job costing system, cash flow system, and that we understand what the industry benchmarks are for our business. Sounds fancy. These are the things that you might want to consider getting a strategic bookkeeper to help you with. It's far more affordable than you can imagine. And we find that this stuff is a complete investment, as in our clients tend to make or save far more than they spend on strategic bookkeeping with us helping them with this. Okay. Not on the bookkeeping. Honestly, preparing your numbers, it is a necessary evil. But when we go into this kind of work, the strategic bookkeeping, wow. Okay. It's absolutely an investment that returns you on that investment. Now, industry benchmarks, it's quite simple. It really just means target. Let's say back to the hairdresser. Okay. So if you were to go to the internet, to Google or even ChatGPT, and you were to say, okay, Jeannie told me that in Australia, for example, there are industry benchmarks put out by the Australian Taxation Office that will tell me for my industry, like a hairdresser, what kind of cost of sales and net profit I should be aiming for, and even key costs like rent as a percentage of turnover based on a certain revenue, so that I understand, like looking at a benchmark financial numbers, what to aim for and where I'm weak and strong. So for example, let's say this hairdresser has rent, which is 4% of turnover. So 4% of her sales is going into paying her rent. And the industry benchmark is 6%. We would say, well, that's good. That's a win. And whew, we know that your rent as a percentage of turnover in terms of financial management is sound. It's set up for success. But let's say we looked at the cost of sales and we said the industry benchmark is about 33% of your revenue, but yours is 46%. And we know that your profit is much lower than where it needs to be. And we can see now that's one of the problems. Rather than seeing that after you go into business, and if you are in business, you still need to do this, you need industry benchmarks. You need to know, what should my cost of sales, my operational costs be, and what should my gross profit and my net profit be as a percentage of turnover, to know that I've got sound financial management. This is the basis. This is why I say to every entrepreneur, even friends that run businesses, my clients, my strategic bookkeepers, everything in business must begin and end with the numbers. I don't want to hear how many sales you're making. I want to hear about your take-home income, your profitability, your time off, your impact, okay? Your profit will be the byproduct of the impact that you're having anyway, but everything must begin and end with the numbers. Now that we know that every entrepreneur at every stage of business must focus on that financial management plan and having all that in place, what are the other areas of focus depending on whether you are a startup, growing, or scaling? Let's dive into those now. For a startup, as you don't have any clients, the opportunity that exists is to use what I call the 5 big keys to really get ready to start and scale your business fast and profitably. Okay. So the 5 big keys are in quite a linear order: team, education, assets, implementation, and support. And behind the scenes, I and my strategic bookkeepers have got a massive toolkit with a lot of different models that help us help you. So I'm just telling you about one model, but this 5 kind of linear system and also an ecosystem, it does drive success every day. So just to go through that again: team, education, assets, implementation, support. And we use these 5 big keys to make the blueprint work. So first up, for a startup, to harness that opportunity to start and scale profitably fast, in a nutshell, you want to nail the left-hand side of the business mastery blueprint by using the 5 big keys. Simple, right? Off you go and do it. Simple, unfortunately, doesn't always mean easy. Now, in part 2 of this series, I explained that left-hand side. And as you may know, we drop a copy of this business mastery blueprint into the show notes every episode. So you can grab it, you can print it, you can have it on your desk all the time. Go back to episode 2 if you want explanation verbally of this particular blueprint in the left-hand side. Ultimately, as a startup, you want to be able to connect with your market, find prospective customers. Okay, you want to warm up your market into a pipeline of prospects that come through and then convert them into clients that add up to profit. Because the opposite can happen. You can fail to really connect with your market. You can fail to create a pipeline. Therefore, you can be finding it really, really difficult to create enough revenue, for example, but you can be finding it difficult to generate the inquiries. Remember that story I shared from the last episode where I had a lady tradie and she was able to generate inquiries, but she couldn't convert them. She was losing work to competitors that were selling inferior products, and just a tweak in the conversion process and in her product ladder, and voila, it all started to work, right? The problem lies when you can't create that demand, when you can't convert prospects into customers. And not only that, sometimes you manage to do that, but without sound financial management, which is products and pricing included in that, it converts, but it doesn't convert into a highly profitable business, okay? So high level in terms of what you need to do and why. The what is learn, build, and implement everything on the left-hand side of the business mastery blueprint. And why is so that you can connect with your market, create demand, create a pipeline, convert prospects into customers, which convert into a highly profitable scaling business, and you completely skip the booked but broken stage. Now, in terms of how you are going to do that, everyone that's listening is going to have a different education, a different level of knowledge on how. So in terms of how you're going to do that, we'll just come back to the 5 big keys for a minute. Team, education, assets, implementation, support. You do need to team up. If you're a startup, which is what we're talking about here, you are going to need someone building your brand, helping you with financial management, helping you with products and pricing, product ladder, conversion process, and so on. So ask yourself, who do you need on the team? Okay, because these can be bits and bobs. Right now, as you listen to this, you've put me on your team. Well done. Team isn't always people that you pay. Team can be really great educational podcasts and thought leaders and books and so on. If you read Atomic Habits, you've put James Clear on your team. So you know that I advocate for putting a strategic bookkeeper on your team to help you with the financial management. Now, a strategic bookkeeper can also help you with everything that I'm talking about there by either supporting you to do it, referring you on to people who can help you, connecting you with the Better in Business Academy content, and also supporting you with everything that strategic bookkeepers know, trained by me as certified strategic bookkeepers, and some of them as certified Better in Business coaches as well. So team, that's the first one of the 5 big keys. The second one is education. You're educating yourself now. You need to continue to educate yourself around all of these things, okay? Simple. Assets. When you've teamed up and you've learned, you're going to need to build the key assets like your brand assets, brochure, social media website. Key assets like those nurture assets that I talked about in the last episode. All the things, all the collateral, all the assets that are represented on the left-hand side of the Business Mastery Blueprint. Then we have implementation. Okay, so once you've done all that, once you've done the learning and the building with the team that you decided on, then you're going to go and need to implement it all in the wild and learn, do, and refine over time. And then support is really surrounding yourself with a good mastermind group and getting support more generally. So they're the 5 big keys that make it work. The area of focus for a startup is number 1, nailing the left-hand side of the Business Mastery Blueprint. Number 2, using the 5 big keys to make that happen. And number 3, then going to market to find and onboard your customers in a way that adds up to a highly profitable business. So now let's talk about the growing stage of business. As you've learned in part 1 of this series, the growth stage is just going beyond the startup. You're in business, you've got customers, but you are not at capacity. You are hustling to get more work, and very, very similar to the startup, with one little exception. So for the growing, I want you to take all that advice I just gave the startup, okay? But if you are in growth stage already, you're going to look at the Business Mastery Blueprint left-hand side as a diagnostics. The whole blueprint is a diagnostics. You're going to have to identify what you don't have dialed in. That means you've got a bit of a broken business model and you need to fix the business model. So remember the booked but broken that we talked about in the other episode? As a growing, you usually sit in between startup and booked but broken. So first you need to look at the same as the booked but broken, listen to the episode before this, and go back and fix your financial management and your products and pricing. Think of those like leaks in your business. Think of them like pipes that are leaking. We need to stop those leaks so that from now on, when you meet a new customer, you can onboard them in a way that creates that highly profitable business rather than a booked broken business. So there's fix the problem, number 1. Number 2, you need to fill up your capacity by doing the same thing as a startup, which is to find and build a pipeline and onboard customers, clients in a way that adds up to a highly profitable business. Okay, so you just need to take the advice of the booked but broken that I went into in the last episode and the startup that I just explained there. Now, in the next episode, I am going to go into where the scaling business focuses, okay? Because I love working with scaling businesses. It really is only 10% of entrepreneurs that will ever get to that scaled business that's working for them rather than the other way around. And working with a scaling business, it's a different area of focus. Again, it's super fun. I would say it's the easiest stage of business to be in because you've achieved that 6-figure or 7-figure freedom, really high income, lots of time off, a real business that can work without you permanently glued to the wheel. But it is very important to be able to keep your finger on the pulse because if anything goes wrong, you can quickly end up back in BBB. Okay. So in the next episode, whether you're startup, growing BBB or scaling, listen up, because it's really going to educate you on exactly where your focus should be to maximize and strengthen your business and repair the roof while the sun is shining in the scaling stage of business. And I'll see you in that episode. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. I would love to help you start doing better in business right now by giving you a free little ebook. It's a how-to guide. It's called The 7 Deadly Cashflow Sins. And also I've developed a business health check for you. It's super high value. Both are available at betterinbusiness.global. If you would like to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper to start enjoying a return on investment and get the support you need to optimize your business cash and profit and time wealth, simply visit betterinbusiness.global, drop me a line and I'll connect you with a certified strategic bookkeeper near you. I'll see you in the next episode.